I'm Jen Mulrow, the Community Engagement Manager at College Fashionista, and I am here today with Christine Flammia, the Associate Style Editor at Esquire, and Sandra Nygaard, the Fashion Director of Men's Health, and we are going to be talking all things fashion and publishing today. So thank you guys for being here. Walk us through a typical day of work for you guys. Like, Sandra, what does it mean to be a fashion director?
It's changing all the time. It's definitely a lot broader than it ever has been before, and that's been mostly due to the industry changing and the doing more with less. On a typical day, like this week itself has been really diverse. Like I went on market appointments, I've had edit meetings, I've written copy, interviewed experts for that copy, called in product, and I'm like in the process of editing product right now. It's coming up with stories. It's kind of fielding questions all the time, dealing with a lot of brands, and being often the first point of contact. Right. Keeping advertisers in mind, and it's just this kind of like daily juggle of so many things.
Right.
That it's part editorial, but in a way it's almost public relations as well, because you have to manage these relationships, and that's like an ongoing and never-ending part of the day. So yeah, it's pretty diverse what I do in a daily.
Yeah, that's awesome, and I'm sure it changes every single day. And here you are interviewing today, so always something new.
Yeah.
And what about you, Christine? What does it mean to be a style editor?
So same kind of thing. It's a lot of juggling different things, but I would say like my primary job is like getting content to the website every day.
Yeah.
So between my editor and I, we probably publish like 8 stories a day. Some of those had been like written before. Some of them are super quick. They're not like 8 feature stories. But so making sure that's like our top priority, because that's the front-facing part.
Right.
So I have to make sure like that's all done, and once that is, I can go into other things. Like for example, we have a lot of photo shoots. Like we had 2 photo shoots this week and have 1 next week, and that's like same edit. So I was like writing a story while at a photo shoot, which we've all done before. Yeah. And calling those products in and getting those products back out, and then just balancing like what different people expect too. So like I work with my style director all the time. We sit next to each other. Like that's my main point. But then we have like what our social editor wants, and what our SEO editor wants, and what like our people above want, and what our print people want. So it's kind of making sure like I can write stories. I always call them my sweet spot stories that like hit what different people want, and also of course what I like to write about too. So that can kind of fall by the wayside, but always trying to work on longer lead stuff at the same time too. That's kind of always just going on in the background.
You guys obviously aren't the target demographic of the men's publications you work for. Maybe not, maybe you are, but how do you kind of put on that different hat and think about your reader? Do you kind of consider brand voice? How do you kind of work that into your daily life?
I think it's just like I've been doing it for so long. It's just kind of like having that understanding when you work with a brand for so long, just about who our guy is. And that's always changing, and you have an idea who the guy is, and sometimes you can be surprised to find out that's not who I thought our guy was at all. But it's just kind of like having a general idea, and I don't know, it just seems like something that the longer you do it, the more intuitive it becomes.
Right.
It's just almost in the same way, like if you were a freelancer and you were pitching to different magazines, you should really understand who that reader is or the voice of that magazine, so that you can make a very focused and a direct pitch. Because whenever I get pitches that are so entirely off base, like you didn't do any homework. So I think it's really important to spend some time with a magazine and to learn the language of it and figure out who the demo is, and whether you're working for it or freelancing for it, to have that understanding. But it takes time. It's not something you can figure out in a couple of seconds.
Yeah.
But I think my biggest test in brand voice was actually when I did my insane year of internships, which was a summer, and I took 2 online classes. I had 2 in-person internships and 1 online internship. And the hardest part was I was interning for Newsweek and 17 at the same time. And so on Tuesday through Wednesday I was at 17, and I'd be very peppy, and I used exclamation points all the time, and everything was pink. And then I got to Newsweek, and it was if you put an exclamation point, just leave, just get out.
What do you think are some of those skills that now, being a digital editor, you have to bring to the job?
I think, I mean, for me, it always goes back to being a good writer, because I think there is, and I think it's amazing, like there's so many places on the internet for anyone to write whatever they want to, and like you can write about any kind of subject that you so desire, but I do think there's, like, my emphasis is always on just like, is it strong writing? And that I think will never go away. So yes, it's being a good writer, but it's also like having the editorial skill set, I think, to like see what's actually worth putting out there and what's not. I think with the internet it can be really hard because there is no limit. But so like then you really have to kind of hone your editing skills and like what is worth it, like what's worth putting on here, not just to get something up, but to get something up that sounds like us.
Right. So the publishing industry has gone through much evolution recently, like traditional print now is incorporating a lot more digital, social media has added a whole new aspect to things. Sandra, what do you think are some trends coming up? How do you think publications are evolving with the new landscape?
To put it lightly, it's a time of great change and evolution, and everyone's scrambling a bit. And they're trying to figure out how to sustain, for print, how to sustain a medium that fewer and fewer people are picking up. Anecdotally, if you are on the subway or you're on a train or anywhere, people are doing this. So it's very, it's been pretty difficult, and I think the trend is to kind of to do more with less, with fewer people. So that's where I think it's really important if anyone is thinking about getting into a classic magazine, a traditional magazine, that they know how to do a lot of things.
And with a smile usually, or like have a good
attitude.
energy.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we were talking about that kind of flexibility with journalism, and even if specifically you want to get into fashion, it's like, well, then you should know a lot of things, and you should nothing should be below you. And I think that you need to have a lot of skill.
Well, thank you guys so much. I think this has been super insightful, and our community is going to get a lot out of this. So if you guys have any questions for Sandra or Christine, you can email us at membership@collegefashionista.com.